Fellas, say goodbye to Chuck Sherman the boy. I am now a man. I highly recommend you join the club. We are doing the wild thing all night.
Acid house music.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Sherm.
Sherman, I could all this food. Is that all you gonna eat?
General Sherman realized and understood the importance of
House music.
So, do you know anything about techno?
No.
Listen.
Yo, what's good, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Sherm in the Booth. I'm, of course, your host, Sherm, and today is Wednesday, July 21st, 2021. This is episode 170 of Sherm in the Booth, and I'm so excited to share this interview with you all. Episode 170 features the incredibly talented DJ producer, Bexxie. I first discovered her late last year and immediately became a huge fan. She is such a dope producer, and it was a blast getting her full story. In episode 170, we got it all in. Started out by talking about her early inspirations and influences. Born and raised in northern New Jersey, Bexxie was exposed to the 90s punk rock and warehouse culture at a young age. She eventually got her first pair of vinyl decks and fell in love with DJing. Originally a drum and bass producer, she took a break from music until she came back and entered the house music world, and boy are we glad she did. And we of course had to talk about her discography. Over the past couple years since she's re-entered the electronic music world, Bexxie has been building her sonic identity and pumping out amazing tracks on labels like Vivifer, Thrive, Let There Be House, and Brooklyn Fire. She's built her name by producing powerful piano house tracks like Drawn to You with PLEXXAGLASS and Meant to Be with Ryan Konline, along with dirty club hits like Feel the Sound and Feel the Energy, which is going to hit 5 million plays on Spotify any day now. This girl's got it. We also had a great conversation on her production style. Bexxie has a special range as she continuously shows and is able to achieve unique grooves and energy in all of her tracks. She gave some insight on how she stays creative and talked about her style for coming up with new ideas. Lots of great pieces of information in this one for any producers out there. It was such a pleasure getting to chat with this future superstar, and I genuinely enjoyed our conversation throughout this interview. She's straight up an awesome person. Thanks so much for making some time, Bexxie, and without further ado, let's get into it right now so you guys can hear her story for yourselves. This is episode 170 with Bexxie. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special episode of Sherm in the Booth. I'm here with Rebecca Clements, aka Bexxie. What up, Bexxie? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. We're both wearing tie-dye. And yep. I feel like it's a really great start to the interview. So
really is.
First things first, when's the first time you got tie-dye, or that first time you actually did tie-dye? You remember when it did the rubber bands?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was probably like one of those after school programs, you know?
Yeah.
You get like a white t-shirt and then they would have you dye it, you know?
I was never good at it.
With a rubber band.
I was never good at it.
No, me neither.
And there was always like that one girl or guy that was like super good at tie-dyeing, and I had to ask for their help every time. And gosh, to think how my life would have changed if I was the person who was good at doing that.
You could have been designing all these shirts now.
I know. I'd been the next Vera Wang of tie-dye.
Vera Wang of tie-dye.
Yes, the Joe Rogan of house music and also the Vera Wang of tie-dye.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But I'm so excited to have you on. Like I said, I'd first seen your name sometime last year. What year is it? 2021? Yes, it's July. Okay, cool. Just got to get my bearings really quick. And you're an awesome producer, and it's been
Thank you.
So exciting for me actually going back and listening through your discography. I have a bit of a process when I research people, and every time I like even start to research someone, like before or after they say yes, because I hope eventually everybody says yes.
Yeah.
I'll like take a look at your Spotify, do some SoundCloud mining. I'd see if I can find anything secret or that you might not have thought about in a long time. And I did some, you go back, like we got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
We got a lot to talk about, but you've got an incredible discography, and I just want to start off by saying congratulations on all your success over the past year.
Thank you so much. It means a lot.
2020 was a huge year for you.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. Just been like heads down, and especially, you know, we we're talking a little bit earlier about the pandemic, but really just like, you know, it's like, well, I'm home, so I'm just gonna focus on music, and I kind of made that commitment anyways, like the beginning of the year, to really like focus and,
Mhm.
just really try to make a go of it again. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. How was 2020 for you? I mean, are you much of a traveler? Like, was it
Um,
just a complete change of lifestyle?
it was, I was working remotely. I feel really fortunate. I was able to, still work and was working from home.
Mhm.
Um, and I do love to travel and I am a social person. So,
Mhm.
that was obviously tough, but I
Yeah.
do feel really lucky, like compared to other people that I know have been affected by it. So, yeah, I mean, so I just kind of stayed home and just focused on work and music and hang out with my dog and tried to make the most of not so great time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's admirable of you. I know it's such a difficult thing to be creative when a lot of times as a DJ, you make music to play it live, and then so many people were put in a position to still be creative. And of
Hmm.
course, it's not easy to always be creative, especially when it's hard to get inspired. I wanted to ask you that first before we get into your story. How did you stay inspired and make some of your best music?
Ooh, I don't know.
That's actually a good answer. I don't know.
Well, it's just that, so, and we'll get into all this, I guess, but
Yeah.
like I had taken a long break, like a several year break from DJing and producing, and so
Mhm.
I just got back into it a few years ago, and so I feel like I just had all this like pent up creative energy that just like
Yeah.
needed to come out. So
Hmm.
I was just like, and it was just all kind of new to me again, and I think I was just having that like newness to it as well kind of helped, and being like, oh, I want to make a track with this sound in it and let me try this thing, and I just like constantly was just trying different things, and
Yeah.
yeah, so it was just had a lot of ideas that just needed to come out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like when you're producing sometimes music or samples or loops go in the graveyard, you kind of put them in the back of your head and then you dug them up and you're ready to
Yeah.
unlock the dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I
So
love that. That's awesome. So I know you mentioned before we got on air, you're a raver from the 90s from the East Coast, from the
yeah.
north side of Jersey.
Yep. Yeah.
Tell me
I
about that. What city were you exactly born in?
I was born in Western New Jersey,
Okay.
but I grew up in Washington Township, New Jersey, which is like really just next door.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then, I grew up 30 minutes outside of Manhattan, outside of the city.
Hmm.
And so, I started going out to like local punk shows when I was in junior high, and like I'd
Nice.
always really like loved music ever since like I could like go through my parents' record collection. And so I just wanted to discover like every type of like genre of music, like everything. I was just so like, what's this? What's this? Just trying to like consume it all.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I ended up like getting into like punk rock in junior high and going out to local shows then. And then that kind of like evolved into going out to raves. And
Classic. Was it a
so
similar crew that you were rolling with to both?
yeah, I mean, it was kind of like there's definitely like a group of people that kind of evolved. And I think it was also like this like 90s like skate culture and punk
Oh yeah.
culture. And then it kind of, went to like rave culture and that sort of thing. And so, we just went out. I went out way too young to be going out at like 15 or something.
Sounds like you had cool parents though. If they had a whole record collection, they let you do whatever you want.
Well, they probably didn't know about the raving so much.
Oh,
But
sorry, it's come out now. I
no,
think
it's
you did
okay.
a
My
little.
mom knows now, but yeah, but yeah. So I was going out, and then so I got into electronic music, and when I first heard any sort of like, I can't even remember. It kind of went from like punk, almost like industrial, which was kind of like this in between. It started getting in like electronic, and
Yeah.
then into like, I think one of the first, I can't even remember like one of the first CDs that I had, but it was definitely there was some jungle CD that I remember having. It was
Mhm.
Liquid Sky, which was just like
Yeah.
this. Do you remember them?
I think I do actually. Yeah, it's ringing a bell.
Yeah, they were out of New York, I believe, but they had this like Jungle Sky compilation, and
Nice.
and so got into like jungle, and then there was just like this early 90s like rave like compilation CD or something, or like Joey Beltram Energy Flash on it. Yeah, and so so I started just listening to it, and then went out to some raves, and then like my friend's boyfriend had a pair of Geminis, and he had like a house party, and so I was just like watching him DJ, and I was just like, what is this? I need to do this, you know?
Yeah.
And so I ended up buying his Gemini turntables.
Those turntables that you were looking at?
Yeah, because he upgraded to Technics. So
nice.
Yeah, so he just sold them to me and like gave me some records and kind of like gave me a little bit of like some tips on what to do. But you know, back then it was just kind of like, all right, here you go, like, figure it out.
Wow.
So yeah, so I started off on these like Gemini turntables that, you know, like trying to beat match on those things was like nearly impossible.
I would say,
but if you did it, you're like, you could beat match on anything, you know?
Yeah.
So so I started, that's kind of how I got into it.
What records were you playing at that point then?
Oh geez, I think when I first got that pair of turntables, I was just like basically whatever records I can get my hands on, because it was like he gave me some. I think there was like a local record shop in like one of the towns nearby, but then I'd have to like go into the city and actually buy records at a record shop, and that was, you know, again, I was in high school. It was like hard to go off and do that. And stuff. And then eventually it was like I was buying like records like off the internet, like mail order sort of thing, you know, like from the UK. Because I actually started off playing happy hardcore. That was actually the first style of music. Yes, that was the first style of music I started DJing, and then I transitioned over to drum and bass in like the early 2000s. So
wow.
Yeah,
I got to ask you about buying records, because like I said, I've had a lot of DJs that started on records, and I always like to bring up this story. Have you heard of Ghetto Blaster before?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, so it's one guy from Detroit, one guy from Chicago, and they've been around for so long, and they actually are having massive amounts of success. They released on Dirty Bird and Confession.
Oh, nice.
And Defected, and they had a similar experience with buying records. They worked at record stores.
Oh, okay.
And records would come into the stores, and they'd buy all 30 of the records so that no other DJs could have them, because that's like how exclusive the music was.
It was.
Yeah, and there's like this interesting tangible aspect, because I've never been a record DJ. I've always been on CDJs or USBs, right? And downloading the song through the internet and putting on my USB and playing it through the CDJ is a very digital experience. But buying the record, putting the needle on, mixing it in, I mean, that's pretty incredible. Do you remember like feeling that?
Oh yeah. And like being in a record store, like going through, like, you don't know.
Listening.
It was just
like you're not
like
just skipping to the drop.
Yeah, you're just like sectioned off. You know, they would have it labeled like genres or whatever, but you'd still just kind of have to go through, and they're like, you know, a lot of it, like, you don't know, like there was a lot of records that were coming out, you know?
Yeah.
And so you just have to like, okay, this looks interesting or whatever, and then listen. They'd have like a, you know, turntable you can listen to them on, and then you just be there for like hours just listening to vinyl to like, and then be like, all right, this one's good, no, I don't like this one, you know, and then just buy them up. But I totally can see like the people that worked at the record store like totally just like buying them up before actually thought about, because it was like that. Like your records were like very precious, because you know, sometimes not everybody could get them, you know, and so like I would trade records with people.
Oh
you
my
know?
gosh.
Yeah, like, oh, you've got that one off that label? Like, I can't find that anywhere. I'll trade. Like, I've got these. Like, do you want these for that one? You know?
You're like a watch salesman, like with the jacket. What do you got? What do you got?
Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely different times with that, but you know, definitely have nostalgia for sure.
Yeah, I feel like, though, I mean, I don't want to speak for you. It probably gives you a deeper appreciation on the process of looking for music and being a DJ. Like it's much more meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a deep appreciation for like nowadays playing like beat matching on turntables versus stuff now. And I know there's like a lot of complicated stuff you could do on the equipment, don't get me
Of
wrong, but
course.
it's like I just feel like there's definitely an appreciation for it for sure. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You're definitely not using the sync button. That I can. That's awesome. Very cool. So when did you actually start producing then? Because you got into happy hardcore, then drum and bass. Was there a moment, do you remember when you're like, I actually want to make my own music?
Yeah, I started messing around in Reason in like
Wow.
college.
Hell yeah. That's like the most intense one.
Yeah, well, it was great because it kind of had all of this like different instruments in one thing, which was cool, really cool at the time. I also had messed around with this program before that called Acid. It was basically like it came with all these like sample loops and you just like put them together. I don't know. That was actually my first like just messing around. But then I started using Reason, just got like a copy of it, and then I moved on to Cubase and had like a little bit of outboard gear. I had like I think it was an Emu sampler and oh god, I can't even remember, some synth innovation, something like, it was so long ago, I don't remember now. Yeah, and just like messing around. And back then too, like because it was hard and expensive to get equipment, you would sometimes go to studios or like friends' studios and work with them, because and somebody would act as engineer, and you'd kind of like collaborate in the studio together, which I know people do now, but I think back then it was like, again, the equipment was so expensive. Like sometimes you just have to find somebody that has it to actually go work on music,
True. These days,
So I
we
had
got
that.
16-year-olds downloading plugins for free,
Yeah, exactly.
making tracks on their dad's laptop, and you and
Right,
I are here
yeah.
like trying to figure this whole thing out.
I know. Yeah, I was like just trying to like loop a sample in my hardware sampler. Like that took
Yes.
like hours.
I know the struggle, Bexxie. I know the struggle.
Yeah.
That's awesome though. So wait, why drum and bass first though? Was it the raves that you were going to? Is that what you were listening to?
Yeah, no, I just so it's interesting. I was record shopping one day and I heard this track and it was on Hospital Records. I don't know.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was this producer called Scientific, and to me, it kind of resembled some elements of like happy hardcore and like early, like I love early '90s like UK rave music.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, hell yeah.
Like 92, 93. So there was this record by Scientific that I heard and I was like, whoa, I love this. Like, what is this? And I even asked the guy at the record store, I'm like, do you have more of this record? And he was just like looking at me all like, what?
Like, what is that record?
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, don't bother me. But yeah, so I just remember because like before that, to me, drum and bass was all like tech step, like Ed Rush and optical, and I wasn't really into that style so much. Like it was a little too dark for me.
It's
a little bit more happy or whatever.
Yeah.
So when that record came out, I was like, oh, I like this style of drum and bass, like whatever this is, and it kind of got me really interested in it. And from there, yeah, it's just started playing it more and started producing.
Damn, you really took the jump.
Yeah.
Were you working with anybody at that point? Did you have any mentors? Or I mean, I'm trying to think. YouTube was certainly around at that point, obviously.
No, well, in the middle of it, yeah.
How did you learn to produce then?
There were like from other people that I knew, but a lot of it was just kind of trial and error. I also, I did go to school for audio engineering at the time, so there was a bit of that. But a lot of that was really focused on recording. Okay. So there wasn't a lot of, sound design and stuff like that. I did have some I remember I took some synthesis and MIDI classes. But yeah, just a lot of it was just like you're by yourself, just messing around trying to figure it out. Like, oh, this sounds good, and just
I
like,
mean, still am doing the same thing.
right? It's still like that. But yeah, so so that was the process. But yeah, I mean, I had
Happy
other
accidents.
producer friends, and I think there were some forums, like internet forums too.
Internet forums, yes, blogs talking about production.
Yeah, so there was
go.
some of that, There might have been some YouTube. There was definitely some YouTube, and like, yeah, I guess that was like mid 2000s.
Yeah, I can't even remember now.
Yeah,
so what a time to be alive, though. Thank God for YouTube.
Right. I'm like, I don't know I did anything before.
I don't know I did anything either. It's crazy. YouTube to me is something that comes up pretty much every single interview, and it's the most consumed social media and most used. And I wouldn't even call it social media. And why I think it's actually like the best is because it's like the gift that keeps on giving. Like creators can put out high quality content and share that. Like you could Google how to change a tire on a 1975 like muscle car, right? You could also Google how to make sub bass on a drum and bass track.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're going to get the highest quality video of both of those. That's someone who really cares. Like they want to give back.
Yeah, it's great. Very specific niche.
Yes.
Things that you can find.
And you know what? Maybe I've Googled both of those things before. Hold on one sec. I'm getting a little dark here.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't know why. On that, you can see it's actually, this is actually my apartment. I'm not in some magical studio like everybody thinks I am. I'm doing what I gotta do, Bexxie. You know what I mean?
I can't really hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh my God, now I look like the cops are on me. Hold on. I haven't done a remote interview in a little while.
Okay, no worries.
This is why, there we go. We're going to keep this in though. I like this. This is good content. This is good content. We're going to upload this to TikTok and Reels. And we're going to get famous.
Just this bit.
Just this bit, yeah. No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a little better. Hold on. Now we're really, really high quality stuff here right now. Hold on one sec.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. I can hear you.
Cool. Yeah, who's the 170 episodes in? Not me. Clearly not me. Good Lord. I apologize.
No worries.
That's comedy at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Anyway, so 2000s, you release a slew of drum and bass tracks, and they're actually pretty awesome. You know what's so funny though too? I was looking at them on Beatport, and you can see just the size of the sound waves, like how much production and mastering has come.
Oh,
and like,
really?
Yeah, like you look at like it sounds good, but like when you look at waveforms, like when back in the day.
Yeah.
If you download like a track off YouTube and you're like, this is like college days when I'm like trying to DJ, YouTube to MP3, bring it up on the CDJ, and the waveforms are like that big. And you're like, oh, this is not going to.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably going to say Hardwell on air when I play this track or something. But like your track, I saw it. I was like, damn, it's just crazy to think just in terms of how far just technology has come with music production. And if you fast forward to your tracks now, these big, massive sound waves, right?
I know. It's so different.
Have you played any of those drum and bass tracks recently that you produced?
No.
You would never dare. You got to.
Oh, God.
I want a drum and bass Bexxie set. Come on.
I'm sure I have some mixes. I still have a bunch of tracks. I could play a set if I wanted to.
Just for me, please.
For you, sure.
Yeah, drum and bass is, you probably, I'm assuming.
Oh, I love it. I still love it. I've messed around with some drum and bass like the past year as well, but so maybe I'll put out some more drum and bass at some point.
Listen, shock the world, do it. I gotta connect you with my buddy here. His name's CLB.
Yeah.
I literally think he's like gonna be the biggest drum and bass guy in the US.
Oh, nice.
He's so freaking talented, and
That's awesome.
It's getting really popular in Chicago, actually. It's almost like trance. Here, I don't know. I mean, your boss loves Above and Beyond, of course. So
yeah.
there's certainly a lane
Shout
for
out
it.
to Dave.
Shout out Dave. What up, Dave? I hope he watches this. That's big stuff right there, Dave. But it's really cool to see in like the tech house space as well. It's like it's all under the electronic umbrella, but there are different, arms that are growing out of it. And I see drum and bass and house and tech house just like really, really finding their way, because I think people are pretty open-minded these days, especially to new types of music. So
I think it's gonna grow even more for sure.
Yeah, I hope so. I love it. I think people got to learn how to dance to it. That's kind of the thing.
You gotta go just half of the half speed.
Half of it, yeah. A lot of people think like I was at some DJ dropped a drum and bass track recently, and my friend next to me was like, "What is this? 260 BPM?" I'm like, "Actually, it's like 85."
Right.
And he's like, "Okay, how do I dance this?" I'm like, "You look like you're doing the Charlie Brown dance, man. Like, just please just stop. You know what? Let's just leave, actually." Yeah. So once people learn how to dance to it, but maybe we'll do a dancing class for drum and bass too.
Sure.
Thanks for participating. So like I said, did a deep dive on all your house music and things you produced overall. I want to talk about this interim because 2000s, I think you released a track in maybe 2010, and then it was until 2019 you kind of went undercover. What was going on during that time? Why'd you take a break from music?
Well, I'd been doing music for a long time, and I had some life things going on, and it just at the time felt like that chapter of my life was done. And I had gone on to do some other things. Like I was working at the time, and I had also started like a business. And so I was fully like concentrating on that. And so I just stopped. It just felt like it. I don't know, just like intuitively at that time.
Yeah, I understand.
And it was, not like something that, because it like I said, I've loved music since I was a kid. Like it's just something, I don't know. It's just, like it sounds cheesy, but it's just totally like in me. Like that's what I know, and I'm like, here I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So it was like definitely sad, but it was just, I just knew that was just like what I needed to do at the time. And so then I just, was doing some other things for several years, and like a few years ago, some weird reason, just something inside of me was like, hey, you need to start DJing and producing again.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, baby steps, because I had no equipment, like nothing, like no software, no turntables, no CDJs, like nothing.
Wow.
Yeah. So I started completely from scratch. So I was like, all right, so baby steps. I'm going to just start with, I'm going to get like a really basic controller, right? Nothing like that. I don't want to like spend a ton of money. Let me just see if I'm like, let me dip my toe in and see like if I'm.
I love that. Yep.
Yeah, and just see if it's like, is this thing inside of me that's telling me to do this again? Is this like really what I should be doing?
Yeah, for sure.
So then I got a controller, and I started messing around, and I put like a mix together, and I sent it to some local promoters, and then got booked just for some local shows, and I was like, yeah, okay. Like,
We're back.
doing this again. I missed this so much. And then I was like, all right, producing. I was like, let me download. I was like, again, let me just take some just baby steps. And I downloaded a free DAW called Reaper. Yeah. It's like very much similar UI to Cubase or Logic.
Okay.
So I was like, let me just, like a friend had suggested it. I was like, let me try that out and just kind of mess around and get myself familiar again and see if this is like something that I want to be doing again.
Right.
And without like spending any money.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I was like, okay, yeah. I was like, all right, let me get like a trial version of Ableton. I was like, if I'm going to do this, I want to start fresh with Ableton. I'd never used it before. I'd always used Cubase or Logic for a little bit. And I just, I knew Ableton was like just, I knew I had like producer friends that were using it and like swore by it. So I was like, let me try that. Got a 30-day trial and just wanted to learn like the ins and outs of it, because the UI is very different to the other DAWs I'd been using.
Oh yeah.
But once I got the hang of it, I was like, oh yeah, I totally see why people use this, like why it's so popular, And so I bought it and then just started, just buying some VSTs and plugins again, like, but not going crazy. I wanted to, because in the past I had like a whole bunch of stuff and I'd probably only use like 20% of it, So like, I just want to like, just buy a few things and really learn them again, before I go, and because you could easily, like, especially with Black Friday sales, just like go crazy and buy like all the plugins.
Down to 60 new plugins.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so I'm guilty of that, but but I just wanted to like, just kind of take my time and learn the ones that I had, and so just kind of like went from there, and also, and then I was like, all right, I really want to make the commitment to this. And so I found Cosmic Academy. I saw them on Instagram, and they're an artist development program. And I just decided to make the leap and join the program with them. And it was definitely one of the best decisions too for me, for my music career as well. And it's been amazing, like having the support and community aspect of it too, because producing can be very isolating, and lonely and stuff.
For sure.
Just doing it by yourself. So I did that as well at the beginning of 2020. So I think that was also like I had that push as well, that kind of like kept me like on like a schedule of producing and stuff. So
I've heard great things about Cosmic.
Yeah, no, they're amazing. I love them. They're family.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome. That's all remote, right? For those that don't know.
Yeah, it's all fully remote, and you can be anywhere in the world, to join. Yeah.
And tell me more about Cosmic, because are you going through, let's just call it like a college style class? Like, here's the intro, here's the syllabus. We're going to take one step here, one step there. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So they basically have like a 5-week boot camp. And you do like production, and then you do like the marketing, branding, and like business side of things. So you learn like all the different stuff. So it's not just production, but also like, all that other stuff too, that I think is very important. And then after the boot camp, you get to go to like, there's weekly feedback sessions that everybody can go to, which is great. So, you can bring music. And so it's like, that's the other thing too, is like getting feedback from people. And it's just like you might send it to a friend. They'll go like, yeah, this is great. But it's not like constructive, So, I if anybody's interested, feel free to DM me and, or apply, and they'll answer all the questions that you have about it.
Yeah, hell yeah. And I think that's very, again, admirable of you, because I know a lot of people that, and not that there's anything wrong with a YouTube university to bring it up again, because
not at all.
But having that level of professionalism, I just recently interviewed someone who did Tool Room Academy and also Icon Collective, interviewed a lot of people who have been to Icon Collective, which I know you're familiar with. And I think it's really important these days that, like you said, people understand the business aspect of the industry. So many artists don't know contracts, don't know marketing, don't know distribution. And these days, being an independent artist is more difficult than ever, but also more important to understand with major labels. And I think we've all heard horror stories, and you see people like as big as Taylor Swift re-recording her albums because she doesn't want to be associated with some of the previous labels. Somebody like Martin Garrix, getting out of a spinning contract, and he released his biggest track, Animals. And then you look at people like you and I who trying to build our name, and we work with smaller labels, some bigger labels and stuff. And I think that's really important too. So I just wanted to mention that, like, I respect the shit out of that. You got to know what you're doing.
Thanks.
Sure.
Yeah. But like totally before that, I was obviously like on YouTube, like learning stuff. And I had done some like, like Fader Pro has some great courses. So it's like, you don't have to go that route. There are some like free resources out there. So I just want people to know that as well, because, I want people to know it's still accessible,
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. And there's a huge community out there that wants to help you, and that we all know something that the other person doesn't, no matter how big or small. So
yeah, exactly.
I fully agree with
you.
you.
I'm just learning all the time.
All the time, every day. Yeah, you guys just saw I'm no expert podcaster. I didn't even have my lighting correct in the middle of this interview. Gosh. Anyway, so fast forward to 2019, and the first track I'm seeing you release was "Say You Really," right?
Yeah, so that was a self-released track.
Self-released. How did you decide on choosing house music? Did it just come to you?
I think it just seemed like a natural progression. It's like since I was starting completely fresh, I just felt like, I could still use the influences of all the music that I've done previously and apply it to house music. I just love dance music in general. So, but I just wanted to make stuff at a slower BPM.
Okay, there we go.
And just see, I don't know. It just seemed like the right thing to go into house music. But yeah, so I self-released Say You Really, and I was very used to DIYing everything previously and releasing my own records before. Like I'd never really tried signing stuff with labels. So that was that made sense to me to do that. But then after Cosmic and kind of learning how to send demos and all that stuff, and realizing, it's oh no, I want to do that too, and build up, relationships with other labels and stuff too. So
yeah, I think that's a huge thing that people, and there's nothing wrong with, again, DIY. I think you and I
not at all.
There's no right way to go about this. In fact, I think sometimes when people try and follow too much of a linear path, it ends up biting them in the ass years later. But that's the cool part about labels these days to me is, and I've interviewed a lot of people who have their own labels. It's not just about getting on a label so they can get your song more plays. It's about joining their family and their network and understanding that it's more than just a label, and collaborating on events. And I mean, you self-released in 2019, but 2020 through now, you've released on some awesome labels. I mean, we've got Vivifer, we got In It Together, we got Storm Music, No ID. That's how you say it, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, we both don't know. All right.
They're in Italy, but I believe it's No ID.
Annoyed. It's annoyed.
Yeah.
Shapeshift, LW, Let There Be House, Thrive, of course, Brooklyn Fire. Amazing. I want to talk about some of these tracks and maybe go in out of order, but I want to start with Drawn to You with PLEXXAGLASS, because you have this really, really unique piano house sound. And before we even talk about that, how do you think you actually be unique with piano house? Because it's interesting, right? It's just a piano and anybody can play the same notes. And especially with piano house, you want to be unique. You want to have that Martin Eichen type piano house. You want to have that Duke Dumont. What's your strategy when you're starting to come up with melodies for piano house tracks?
So the piano house thing to me made a lot of sense, especially my love of early 90s rave music had a lot of pianos in it. Happy Hardcore had a lot of pianos in it.
Yeah.
So to me, putting pianos in music was just a no-brainer. It's duh. So and so I have the Korg M1 VST, which is that classic piano house sound, and I have ways that I process it and stuff to get a particular sound. But I mean, I don't know. I think to me, it's I come from this hardcore background of those sort of style of pianos, and I just apply it to the tracks that I'm making now, with those kind of, I don't even know, stabby chord progressions,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Are you layering those a lot of the time?
Yeah, so I do layer the M1. I layer it with I layer with just like a stock Ableton piano, actually.
Hell yeah, whatever works.
Yeah, and it's still just to kind of like round the sound out, because the M1 by itself can sound a little, you know, I don't know, I guess like thin. You know, you can do some things to like alter it, but it definitely sounds better when you layer it up with something too, just to give it a little bit of a bigger sound.
For sure. I love it. And in that track, you have such incredible vocals too. I mean, that's definitely a signature of yours, is some sort of vocal aspect.
I love vocals. Yeah.
Let's check out this amazing vocal piano house track. This is called Drawn to You with PLEXXAGLASS by Bexxie.
Electronic music, baby. It brings something out of you.
Yeah. And PLEXXAGLASS, she did an amazing job with that.
Yeah. Awesome track. Love it. So your track Locked In on In It Together Records with Bubs. First off, Bubs, great name.
I know. I love it.
So simple, Bubs.
It's funny too, because I call my dog Bubs a lot. So his name's Max. Not my dog, the producer. But I think that was like my first like pandemic collab, and we got on Zoom and like did a session like that. And he lives in France. Yeah, so it was really fun. We just really clicked, you know.
Let's hear Bexxie and Bubs click. This is Locked In on In It Together Records.
Producing, and he's very much like a disco style, like disco house. And I love disco house too. So when he approached me about doing something together, I was like, let's do a disco track. I was like, I want to try that, like see what we come up with. So that was really, really fun. And then we got Mimi, this vocalist, to do the vocals on it, and she knocked it out of the park. When we got those vocals back, we're like, damn. Her voice is amazing.
I mean, that I definitely wanted to mention this track too, and like it does have this special disco groove, and the guitar and the synth and like everything about it. It's a composition. It's more than a track to me. It's one of those that like there's a lot more than just got in the studio and put some digital equipment together.
No, it was fun.
Track.
Yeah,
that's a fun one. Shout out In It Together, rather.
Yes.
Too. Okay. Storm Music, See Me Like This with Maui Sam. Another great name. What the hell, Rebecca?
So Maui Sam is he's from Cosmic as well. So
okay, cool.
So that so it was a Cosmic collab.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that just came out.
I like it.
But Sam's great. He we just we got on Zoom. We worked on it a little bit on Zoom and then kind of finished it up. But that was another one. It was just pianos, vocals. I don't know, just love it. We worked with another vocalist on that one as well, and she did an amazing job.
Let's check out this amazing track. This is called See Me Like This with Maui Sam on Storm Music.
You kept me waiting in the shadows too long, falling pieces till I was almost all gone. But I wish you could see me like this. Now I'm in color like a sunrise kiss. No, you wouldn't believe what you've missed. Yeah, I wish you could see me like this.
Yeah, I don't know. That was just another really fun one to do. They're all fun.
It's got a casual 500,000 plays on Spotify. It's so powerful over here. You and Maui Sam just casually hanging out. It's awesome though, and it has like this great synth progression and notes in there. It definitely reminds me of the 2010 progressive era, you know, like the strong electro synths, and you guys just really, really put something special together there. I like it a lot.
Thanks.
Great track. And we gotta, of course, talk about Let There Be House Records. This is actually probably my favorite track of yours. I like to get a little dark and dirty, and the vocals are incredible. Meant to Be with Ryan Konline. Finally a normal name, but sounds like a nice name.
All right, let's check this one out together. This one's called Meant to Be with Ryan Konline on Let There Be House Records.
I think about you. When I sleep, I close my eyes. You're staring right at me. Nobody but you. When I open up my mind, you make me so happy. One time is not enough. Two times don't go away. Three times don't give it up. Four times don't walk away. Let go, now make a wish. Please won't you stay with me? If this ain't what you want, why you keep on making me bad? I guess we'll never know what we were meant to be. I wish I had some more time and maybe find just what you want me to do. I guess we'll never know what we were meant to be. I tried to take it slow, but you don't have no extra time for me. For me, for me, for me. For me, for me, for me. For me, for me, for me.
Yeah,
Track is
this
so
is
good.
Thank you so much. This is actually, I think this is probably one of my favorites as well. I mean, I can't say I have a favorite, but I was really proud when I finished that track. I just had a very specific idea in mind with that one. And again, I feel like we're just covering all my piano tracks right now, but
I got a rhyme and a reason for this, baby.
yeah, okay. But I was just, I wanted to go for like an old school vibe, like an old school 90s house vibe, like seventh chord pianos, and then and I knew I wanted a male vocal, and I had a very specific idea of the even like style of vocal.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, like when I know I want a vocal, but I know I'm going to like work with a vocalist, I'll just go through Splice and I'll find like a placeholder vocal just to kind of like get an idea like for arrangement and stuff too. And like also like for style and sound.
Definitely.
And then he had vocal samples on Splice.
Wow.
And I was like, this is the guy. It's like, this is exactly what I'm looking for.
Wow.
And so yeah, I just found him on Instagram and I reached out and I was like, hey, like, will you do like an original vocal for me? And yeah, and he just did it and it was amazing. And yeah, I'm really happy with how it came out.
It's such a sick track.
Thanks.
It's got meaning. And I wanted to ask you about the piano house tracks because these next couple, you really showcase your style where you do definitely involve piano, especially in your breaks and builds, particularly before the second drop. I mean, you are like really mastering something there. And your most recent release, though, on Thrive, Feel the Sound. I mean, this is where you really, really are showing how talented you are. You got some little acid vibes, and I love the vocal work. Now, with this being your most recent track, did you produce this maybe in the mindset that I want this to be played live, I want this to be played at festivals, or where were you at creatively when you made this?
This was like, when did I make this track? It's probably around this time last year, maybe in the fall of last year.
Yeah.
So I still had like no clue what was going on, like, right?
Yeah.
I know, I can't remember. I'm like losing track of time. Was it in the beginning of this year? I don't know. I know it was still during like lockdown.
Okay.
But basically with that track, yeah, I had no idea about like playing it live. The vocal, the lyric just like came to me out of nowhere.
What?
Yeah. And I was just like, okay. And like bring on my phone, voice memo, like let me just like say it, like get it out there. And then I was like, okay, I need to build a track like right now around this.
Yeah.
And basically it just came together in like a day and I just did the vocal myself and yeah. I just knew I wanted to.
You got to do it for us.
Sorry.
You got to do it for us. Give us something.
What the? It doesn't sound the same.
It's gonna sound good. Come on.
We're gonna go up, down, all around. Take your time and feel the sound.
Yes. Gosh, we got it all on Sherm in the Booth today, ladies and gentlemen. That was good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
It's so. That got stuck in my head, like for real. Like,
That's what I was hoping. I was hoping it was going to be like a catchy vocal. I just wanted to do something that was like, just like a really fun, like has a little bit of sass, like tech house track, but like fun, like party track. You could just play out or whatever.
For sure.
So.
Kind of that spoken word vibe where it's like you really clearly hear the vocals and something that's really easy to catch along with. And if you like the song enough, it's easy to remember. And if you don't, it's fun enough that you can play along.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Great work.
Thank
I love that.
You. Thanks.
Now, of course, we got to talk about Brooklyn Fire, last but not least. You are on absolute terror with this label. Tommy Sunshine probably is sending you thank you letters handwritten at this point. I mean, you're on fire with this. Like I said, I did originally discover you through Surrender, which was your first track, November 2020. Before we talk about your music on their label, do you remember kind of like any interest in trying to release on that label or getting to know Tommy? I mean, he's a legend in the electronic music industry for many, many reasons. Yeah,
I mean, I definitely always had an interest in releasing with them. So, I sent them Surrender and it was like, okay. So yeah, just
right away. That's awesome.
So it just, it just worked out really well and we just have a really great relationship and Tommy's an amazing person. So yeah, I love Brooklyn Fire and working with them.
Yeah, he's got a lot of cool things going and he's one of those labels that like they have a sound. It's almost like a confession to me where it's like, no matter what, it's going to be good music, but it's not boxed in. You know what I mean?
And that's what's great about Brooklyn Fire too, is because like, if I like want to make some weird ravey stuff, like I know like that's a home for that because they're very open to genres, so no, it's great.
It's awesome. And Surrender is another one that's done so well for you, about 230,000 plays on Spotify, so casual. And this is one where your second build is pretty special. You're really coming into your own. Do you remember making this track? I mean, was this during the pandemic too?
Yeah, this is very deep into the pandemic. I can't remember, like maybe like April or May 2020. I finished that track.
Okay.
I think that was probably the first piano house track that I did. Like, you know, starting up producing again. It was the first track I did that had a piano in it.
Yeah.
And again, I was just like, wow, this sounds so like, to me, I was like, is this just like a happy hardcore track slowed down? Like, I don't know. Are people going to like this?
It works.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, no, it was just another fun one to do. It was just, like I said, I just was like, oh, I want to make a piano track. So let's just see how this goes.
Yes. I mean, it's really cool. And that's one where like, you're certainly coming into your own on the sound design, and especially with your percussion and your low end, like clearly you have a style with vocals, and whether it be making your own or collaborating with people, you, just like the label, are not boxed in, but you definitely have a foundation of sound. And I heard it a lot in that one.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, because I'm still like, I don't know. I feel like every track I make is like totally different.
So. Got a thing going. Don't worry. It'll all be soon enough. So we of course have to talk about Feel the Energy. This track is, I mean, coming up on 5 million plays here soon. I mean, what the hell? That is insane.
Yeah.
We're going to leave you speechless with this one too. This one's called Feel the Energy by Bexxie off Brooklyn Fire.
Just as confused.
I'm not confused.
It was very unexpected. That's all. That's what I should say. Yeah, no, it's crazy. I'm so grateful like that people have really responded to this track. Like it's really resonated. You know, I get messages about it, you know, and it's amazing. Again, it's just one of those things. I made that deep in the pandemic. I was on my laptop, I think in bed.
Under the covers.
Like my dog next to me, like just in headphones. And I just had a specific like idea that I wanted to make a track with like a rolling bass line, like a galloping bass line.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to sound really like old school ravey with some like those stabs, and the percussion for me and I don't know if this is exactly, if you listen to it, I don't know if it exactly sounds like it, but I had in my head pump up the volume,
Mm-hmm.
like all those like little like weird percussive sounds.
Yeah.
And I wanted that in there, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it just came together. And then when I made it, I was like, I don't know who's gonna like this or what label is gonna take this. Like I
Yeah.
just didn't think it fit anywhere. I didn't think anybody would really be that into it, to be honest. I was really happy with it because it was like I set out to make a specific thing and it came out the way I wanted it to. And yeah, so it was just so crazy. It's so crazy to me to see how this track is done. So
seriously, I mean, you're probably starting to make some money off that track. Good for you. I think it's inspiring though for producers out there, because I feel like you said, I mean, a lot of times it's a lonely thing. You make a track and you're like, I like it. Is this good? I have no idea.
Yeah. Like, are people going to respond to this? I have no idea. And the time, you can't play it in a club and see reactions either. So you just have to put it out there and see what happens. So
Bexxie, I believe good music finds a way, and it's really cool to see someone like you get that stamp of approval, and get the well-deserved recognition, because I do think it is a great track. And
thank you.
It's one of those that I say this a lot. There are tracks that get released, people listen to, they don't heart. There are tracks that they heart, share their story. There are tracks that people text message to people and say, you gotta listen to this. And then there are tracks in the DJ world that you hear, you go to Beatport, you download the track, you put it in a record box, you get it on your USB right away, and you're like, I gotta make sure next time I'm DJing, I play this track. That track for me was exactly one of those. So that's like DJ to DJ, that's the highest form of a compliment.
Oh, thank you so much. That's like partly like, I mean, obviously I make music because I love it, but it's like so cool to see like other DJs playing my music. It's like just such, like you said, it's such a huge compliment. I'm just like, wow, like they actually like my music and want to play it,
I know, it's true. It's like the average listener might just be someone who stumbled upon it on Housework or the Mint. Wasn't it on Mint?
Yeah, it's still on Mint.
It's still on Mint? Let's go. God damn. It's still on Mint. Yeah, you're funny.
Crazy.
It's still on Mint. It ain't leaving. So cool, though. Congratulations to you on that track. It really deserves all the recognition.
Thanks.
So cool. So you also released an Untouchable remix, Dust, with On Deck and Nobody. Some incredible follow-ups. And I just want to really quick talk about Dust with On Deck, because this one is another one that
so I think that's the one that Beatport labeled incorrectly. So
this isn't your track?
So On Deck did Dust, but I think with that release was his remix of Surrender. So it's labeled as On Deck Bexxie.
God damn, because I was like, is this her?
No, that's totally On Deck. And it's a great track.
It's a great track. Yeah, I was like, this is really deep. This is like dark in the darkness in the clubs.
Yeah. No, that's not me at all.
Okay, well, you're gonna set the record straight, everybody.
Yes. I think it's just some mislabeling somewhere.
Anyway, whatever. I wanted to ask you about Nobody anyway, because that was featured on Tomorrowland Radio, right?
Yes. Austin Kramer's, yeah.
Who am I talking to right now? You're famous.
Oh.
Yes. That's incredible. And you have that old school vocal. Like, well done, miss. That one's really, really good too.
Thank you.
I mean, you're receiving all this support. Like, tell me, like, honestly, how does it feel to like get that sort of recognition?
I don't know.
Surprised.
Honestly. Yeah. I think I'm still processing, to be honest. Just the support and everything. And I'm just grateful that people are, like I said, they are responding to the music that I'm making. So it's awesome.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Very cool. So I have to ask, and you said you don't know earlier, but is there a track that means the most to you, regardless of success or streams?
Oh, one of mine?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, this is gonna... honestly, like, and it has nothing to do with the streams, but Feel the Energy was actually like one of the ones I was, that and Meant to Be, you know. I think it's just, yeah, that's hard. They're like, it's
I
like they're
know.
all my children. Like I love them
Yeah.
equally. I don't know. It's like hard to pick a favorite. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just, that one, you know, I think it's just like the tracks that it's almost like this idea just pops out of nowhere and it's just like comes together really quickly and it's just wow, like that happened. You know, it's just crazy. So
That's awesome. Good
yeah.
choice. Good choice.
Thanks.
Good choice. So you obviously you were producing in the early 2000s and into the 2010s, came back in the house. You just mentioned that you're always trying to find your sound. What's it like for you in the studio when you are trying to find inspiration? Do you have a process? Do you have a template? What does it look like for you when you're starting a new track?
So if I'm, you know, sometimes I do get an idea and it'll just flow, you know. Other times, you know, if I'm, you know, don't have any ideas, but I want to like get in there and start working on stuff. Sometimes it's real, like I'll find ideas just by doing like a tutorial, you know, like learning a new sound design or something. Or I might hear a sample that I like, you know, and that'll spark some idea. You know, or I'll play around with chords. I've lately, so I set a goal this year to do vocals on more of my own tracks, like actually singing. So lately it's been like sitting down and like playing with chords and, you know, just kind of like freestyling some stuff and just seeing what comes out.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like I don't have a like one like, you know, thing that I do, but a bunch of different things. I'll just try to try a bunch of different ways to come up with ideas. And I think it's just really important to be consistent with actually like working on music like consistently, even if you're not feeling inspired, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Because once you get in there and just start messing around, like, and even if it's just doing some things that are like, yeah, just like some messing around with this sound in Serum or something, just to like get some creative pieces going.
Get some random keys.
Yeah, and just like, you know, making your own sound or whatever, and like, you know, that can just kind of spark some things. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I love that. I think, again, like I said earlier, there's really no right answer to finding inspiration.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're like, oh, I've got some time tonight to produce, and then you get in the studio and you're like, oh, there's absolutely nothing going on in my head right now.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough.
I know, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough when that happens. But yeah, like and if that does happen and really like you're just getting frustrated, like I would just take a break and go for a walk or something, you know, do something away from the screen.
For sure. Well, let's remember you are in North Carolina and I'm in Chicago. I can't exactly go for a walk in the winter, which is usually my important time. So I'm jealous.
That's true.
That's okay. I tell you, when I go outside in the winter here, though, I think about everything else but music. And sometimes that's like the best way to clear your head.
Yeah.
Get outside or whatever you got to do. And
yeah.
I think that's something I personally struggle with is I'm such not a type A personality, but I like to be organized and I like to schedule my weeks out and schedule the interviews and shows. And if there's a night where I'm like, oh, sweet, night to produce, let me focus on that. I pigeonhole myself into feeling like I was supposed to be productive and then I beat myself up. And talk to a lot of people like you and producers that say sometimes you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And that's why I think the consistency of like always working on something, even if it's just like open it up for 15 minutes and mess around with it, you know, because you don't know when something's going to happen. So, and I think, and like you said, it sounds like it's like you almost have this pressure of like, well, I have this amount of time to do something.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's tough, right? Because you're putting that pressure on yourself. And I totally get that. Like I'm the same with that, you know. So yeah. But yeah, just keep messing around with some stuff and Something will happen.
Something will happen. That's
Yeah.
good advice. Write that down, ladies and gentlemen. Bexxie says something will happen eventually.
Something will happen.
That's right.
That's
Never
great.
know. You're gonna be in your bed with your dog that you call Bubs. You're gonna be under the covers, and you're gonna make a track called "Feel the Energy," and it's gonna get 5 million plays. That's life.
You don't know. You never know.
I love that. I love that so much. Oh man. So obviously the past year and a half has been really tough. And before then I was asking this question, and now I think it's an even more interesting question. We've seen the electronic music scene change so much, venues, festivals, genres that are blowing up, of course, house music. On the topic of house music, what do you think the next couple of years holds for the actual scene?
Oh, geez. That's
deep.
Yeah. I'm not one to predict these sort of things, to be honest.
Where do you want to see it go? Where do you want to be involved in the future? I guess if you want to focus it more on what are your goals in the house music scene?
Well, I mean, I'd love to just, it's just tough because it's like, well, we've all, obviously, I think for the next 2 years is to kind of get back to where things were, at least, right? So there's that. And just see it continue to grow and see people thrive and get people out and get them exposed to music. And, I don't know, I feel like although I've been, going out to raves since the 90s, I did have that long break. And so it's like I'm coming back, only being back into it for a few years. So it's almost like I'm in it like in a new way, I wasn't really around when like EDM really hit big here in the US, and like the festivals and stuff like that to me is a very new thing. So it's interesting to see how much it's grown, like since when I was going out when I was younger. Where it was like, whatever venue we could find that would like let us actually throw a rave at, and now everything's like very, there's a lot more organization and there's these huge festivals and like tens of thousands of people go out to them. Like it's crazy to me to see how much electronic music EDM has grown in the US. So so it's like for the next couple years, like I'd just love to see more of that, and just with house music and all of the genres. So it's so cool for me to see that, like that progression since the early years.
Times have changed, but
it's changed a lot.
Like, things are similar, but things are different. And I really like where the community's at. I feel like before the pandemic, it's the music industry, so it's very competitive, obviously, right? And we mentioned earlier, 16-year-old can get a Serato controller for Christmas from their mom for whatever, right? And you were buying records, and when I got into it, this stuff was expensive, and now there's no barrier to entry, basically. All you have to do is create a free Instagram account and a free SoundCloud and use DistroKid, right? But where there's opportunity means there's going to be more competition. But now, I mean, at least in my experience, I'm seeing more collaboration than ever before.
And I love, I am as well. And I hope to see more of that. And I feel like, and I don't know if it's because of what we've all went through collectively, but I feel like, people are going to be more, supporting people more, and cheering each other on and like being like, we're all in this together, and so rather than like us feeling like we're competing with each other, so I'd love to see more of that. And I'm seeing that as well, which is amazing,
Yeah, absolutely. It's so cool to see. And I've been interviewing a lot of people, like I said, who own labels, and it's great because people will, a lot of times DJs run the label, right? And they're able to leverage their label and their following in their city, and then they're able to gig swap, so to speak, right? And do those sort of things. And it's just, I don't know, it makes me really, really optimistic to know that it's not just going to be you having to cut the line or backstab like you hear so much to when one person wins, we all win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the mentality that we're moving into, you know.
For sure. And I think it comes with a lot of people being independent artists these days, like us. We got to teach each other the business side of this stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I'll support each other.
Absolutely. One of my last questions, what would be your advice to younger DJs and producers that are trying to make a name for themselves these days?
Trying to make a name. I guess one, just, you know, I've said this before, but I still think it's important, but make music that you want to make. Like, don't, like, what's coming out of you, like, make that, because I feel like the world needs that. Like music that's true to yourself, your soul, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do that, and you know, I think people resonate with that, you know. And then, you know, and then on the other side of things, like, definitely try to have like I mentioned earlier, like a consistent, you know, schedule with it, with producing, with the marketing side of things, social and all that stuff. You know, I feel like there's definitely that part of it too, you know. They got to be consistent. It's a big part of it.
Absolutely. Consistency is so important. And I think we probably have both experienced in the beginning, you start a project and everyone's really excited about it for you and you're excited. And then it's like this. And then there's a long period of a plateau. But the fact is, even if you're staying level, you're not going down and you just have to keep doing it. And that's why it's so important, like you said, to make music that you love. And no matter what you're doing in life, music or non-related, make sure that you love it, because life can be long and can be fulfilling. How many people, our parents' generations and our grandparents' generation, they get interviewed on their deathbed and they're like, I wish I wouldn't have given so much time to things that I didn't love.
Yeah, you hear about that.
Not us anymore. That's changing. We're doing what we want to do, and we love what we do every day. That I'd like to say the same thing too. Like, my piece of advice is, whatever you do, if it is in the music industry, don't get caught up with imposter syndrome. And I think you actually said something about that too in your EDM Nomad interview.
Oh, did I?
Joe Rogan house music right here. You better watch out. Yeah.
I'm sure I probably mentioned something about that. Yeah. I mean, I know that I could be my own, like, worst enemy sometimes, you know? And so that's a lot of the work that I've done on myself, you know, in order to be able to finish music and be like, okay, I think this is good enough to send to a label, because there can be a lot of self-doubt, you know? So the imposter syndrome, just try to work through all that stuff, you know?
And reach out to people, slide in their DMs and introduce yourself and try to collaborate. I mean, you just talked about a guy that introduced himself that was from France and you made a song with him. That's an amazing track, right? Like, that's the power of the internet and the power of social media. And there's a lot of negative things to say about social media, but I like to focus on the positive in life. That's one of the cool things I like about it too.
Yeah, no, it's great. And honestly, like, it really helped me a lot through the pandemic too, being able to have a place to connect with people positively with music. So yeah, I definitely, you know, they're, like you said, focus on the positive with that. So I for sure, like, networking on there can be really great and really beneficial, you know?
Definitely. Absolutely. Love that. Great answer.
I mean, that's how we connected.
Yes, it is. Here we are now.
Yeah.
Amazing. So what can you tell me about what's coming up in the future? Any releases on the horizon that you can tell us about?
There's a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
But I can't really talk about, because there's one I can share.
Okay.
I do have a release on Tool Room coming out in September. That's I'm very excited about, with Bubs.
With Bubs. Let's go, Bub. Wait, is it your dog or the guy Bubs?
No, the guy Bubs.
I don't know. Maybe Bubs is your ghost producer, okay?
Yeah, he is. I mean, I'll just say that right now. um, yeah, no, we've got a release coming out too. I'm both very excited about it. It's definitely like a dream label of mine to release on. So
Congrats.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I've done a few releases or sorry, remixes. So keep an eye out. I can't say what yet, but really excited about those. Yeah, but yeah, lots of music for sure that's coming out soon.
That's great. Well, when more music gets released, that means that shows are to follow because, like I said earlier, good music always finds a way, and the people need to hear it live more than ever.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Amazing. Bexxie, this has been so much fun. I just want to say again, I'm one of your biggest fans. Like,
Oh, thank you.
I love your music. I've got more than just Feel Your Energy on my USB. And
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
I'm going to get some footage for you, okay? It's some shows I got coming up.
I would love that. Please do
you.
that. Send it to me.
I got you for sure. You really are a special talent, and it's so cool to talk through your story with you. And you got a bright future ahead. So congratulations on everything so far. And everybody's got to keep an eye on you because shit's going down.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. It was just an absolute pleasure talking with you today.
Absolutely. I had so much fun. It was great to finally meet you, and I hope we get to hang out in person soon. I'm going to keep you posted, okay?
Awesome.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you, Rebecca. You have a good day, and thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thanks. Bye.
Man, do I love Sherm in the booth. Oh, hey, I think you do too. Hope you enjoyed that piece of content. If you're looking for more, make sure to go to my YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any upcoming Sherm in the Booth interviews, live sets, new music, exclusive artist interviews, Sherm's Word, sub-pack reviews, and more. This is your one-stop shop for everything entertainment. Cheers.